Two heavy doors stand before you, intricate designs depicting a sun rising over a battlefield on their sand-colored stone, while two large cats rear up on their hind legs to either side of it. Pushing open the doors, you enter a large chamber. Pillars with similar carvings are planted near the edges, like looming sentinels. Upon a large dais, a statue of a lion with the head of a man waits, and its eyes seem to follow you as you progress down the length of the hall. When you reach the foot of the dais and prepare to climb, the head moves sharply downward, and you realize its eyes have been following you. A tail lashes out behind it, flicking back and forth with impatience. Before you can move, a paw lashes out and throws you 30 feet across the hall, your head hitting one of the pillars with a sharp crack. As your vision fades to darkness, you hear, "You are unworthy."
The snarling and howling could be heard from at least 100 yards in any direction, so your party knew exactly where to go to find them. Peering over the ridge of the dune, the stars and last flickering embers of their fire is more than enough light to make out the carnage below. Grotesquely muscled mockeries of what could be mistaken for dogs from a distance are tearing the flesh of an unlucky group of travelers, each with two heads and red, glowing eyes. One lifts its head and sniffs as a sudden gust of wind rises from behind you and carries your scent towards them, but it quickly becomes distracted and snaps at another of its pack that tried to move in on its feast. A hand gently tugs on your sleeve, and with a finger to her lips, your party's ranger gestures for everyone to move away from the dune. It was too late for the other group, and those dogs, if they could be called that, seemed far from satisfied. Diving with Grace
And Erica.
Dungeon Diving is a podcast about your favorite or not so favorite monsters and some monsters that we think could use a little love, and how to make them more interesting and stuff.
So thank you to everyone who's been tuning in for our first two episodes, and welcome to episode 3.
The Secrets of the Sands, as we call this episode.
Mm-hmm.
So today
Satanic Day. That's what you said. That's what it sounded like.
So today we're going to be talking about monsters that you can find in the desert, or like sand monsters. But oddly enough, I can't talk today. Oddly enough, when we were doing our research prior to today, and we pulled up the category of desert monsters, it went on for 10 pages, but if you actually looked at it, there's nothing.
There's a lot of them where it's you could find this in the desert, but it's not distinctly a desert monster.
Like a cyclops. It's not.
That's a giant. You find them wherever.
Yeah, exactly. So we decided to do the research for you guys and pull up some of the main deserty type monsters that you can find. Mm-hmm. So let's dive right into it.
I'm gonna get so sick of that intro bit.
It's not a bit.
It's a bit.
It's our slogan. We're diving into it.
Anyway. I think the first thing we're going to talk about this week is mummies.
Who's your mummy?
Not you. It's not you.
Yeah, so mummies are obviously the go-to for any kind of sand campaign, or whatever you're using sand for that requires monsters. So in the monster manual, mummies are bad guys who were wrapped up in these necromantic things and cursed to basically live an eternal life as a dead thing, which is fine. I mean, I think it'd be fun.
You'd be down for that?
Yeah, I'd be down for that.
And who wouldn't want to live, eternally after they've died?
Embalmed, wrapped in bandages, forever cursed to look like a degrading corpse.
I mean, my favorite thing is to just wait around inside of coffins for someone to open it up so that I can curse them.
Do you think that's what they do? They're just like, oh, let's wait for the next adventure, and then we'll give them a good spooking.
It seems to be the general trend, with the sort of theme of going into a tomb and finding a mummy, and then there's a curse, and then it rises up out of the tomb for the first time ever when you walk inside.
Yeah, but, like, obviously when you think of a sand campaign, you think of, like, pyramids and, like, tombs and
there's definitely, like, an Egyptian vibe.
Yeah, but, like, why can't you just go into, like, a graveyard and find mummies in the coffins?
I don't know, Grace. Why can't you?
Because people don't think of that.
And they should.
They should. Or, actually, you know what might actually be really fun? So these guys are lawful evil, like most bad things.
Well, not necessarily lawful, but a lot of them are evil.
Well, I mean, the alignment in the book is lawful evil.
Yeah, but not... We can move on.
Oh, okay. Yeah, anyway, so these guys are lawful evil. So, I mean, theoretically, you could just have a town of mummies.
Yeah.
And they can communicate. Like, they can talk. I mean, their intelligence is 6, so I don't really know where the realm of, like, talking starts when it comes to, like, stat scores and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But they remember the languages that they spoke before they died. So,
yeah.
I mean, you could have, like, an ancient town that's just filled with mummies who, like, don't actually realize they're mummies.
Like an Acropolis sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I think would be really cool. And then they could be ruled over by the mummy lord.
Just make your mummy lord a full-on necromancer.
Yeah.
That would be really cool, actually.
Well, like, not necromancers, but, like, mummy lords are supposed to be really powerful, like, beings. Sometimes they were, like, pharaohs or, like, the shamans and stuff who become embalmed just to protect, like a tomb of some sort. Obviously, with the tomb vibe.
Like, they were just buried in the tomb because the tomb was for them.
Yeah, pretty much. But, like, you could have them ruling over their town or, like, their city or something, and then have, like, the mummy lord be like, I don't want to give up the great city that I had, so why don't I just kill them?
Everyone and make it my city.
I mean, I think that's a pretty cool plot in itself.
That actually would be a really interesting thing to stumble on,
and they're
like, as a player.
Like, I mean, it could be like, from, like, Avatar: The Last Airbender, where they had, like, that book, the library that was underneath the sand.
Yes.
Yeah, something like that. Yes. But then you, like, do it with, like, a bunch of mummies instead of, like, a big owl. Right? Yeah. I mean, that would be cool.
That would be really rad. I'm always a big fan of, like, finding lost troves of knowledge or something, and sort of mummy setup is a really easy way to do that, just because historically, whenever, a pharaoh or something died, they would be buried in these tombs and they would have a bunch of treasures to bring with them to the afterlife. Sometimes, like, their servants would be killed so that they could go on to the afterlife with their lord and that sort of thing.
Yeah, and since mummies are also, like I said earlier, they were, like, punished people, it's not odd to, like, try and convince a mummy to guide you into, like, the tombs that they were supposed to protect and be like, hey, dude, I'll, like, release your spirit if you help me find this treasure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, I think in sort of the traditional mythology, they weren't really cursed people, but I think that's kind of the vibe that's gone for in, like, D&D and that sort of thing, is that it was like, yeah, there are people that are mummified, but mummies are this sort of specific type of thing.
Mm-hmm. Another idea is, like, fighting the Sandman, but it's a mummy lord.
Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
Well, like, idea. My light bulb just went off. So imagine, right?
Mm-hmm. I'm imagining.
You come across this thing, and it's, like, a humanoid with, like, the mummification thing wrapped around it, right?
Yeah.
And then you're fighting it, and you, like, rip off its bandages to find a dust mephit underneath.
More methods!
You can never go wrong with mephits.
I mean, mephits can definitely be the kind of minion you would find in a tomb with a mummy, though, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, but
that's super easy.
I mean, I feel like it'd be really cool if you could have, like, a dust mephit embody, like, a mummy. You know what I mean?
I would hate that so much.
Yeah, and then they'd explode when they died.
All right, moving on. I think something else that we wanted to bring up about mummies is that sort of the typical thing that's done is, you know, you assume it's some sort of humanoid. Like they're just people. But mummy centaur, mummy cat, mummy
anything.
Anything can be a mummy.
I mean, I feel like mummies are in the same realm as like zombies, where like you can pretty much slap mummy in front of anything and then throw it in your campaign.
Oh yeah.
And you know what? Any kind of monster that you find in the desert, you could probably find a mummified version of that too. So if you wanted to do like a mummified like giant spider or like a mummified like anything, and then that'll just add an element of like spook, but you can also make them stronger by adding some of the abilities.
Yeah. And like oh yeah, I love that because I think yes. Do you have something you want to say?
Imagine if you had like a mummified spider, but instead of webs, it shot out like a bandage, right? And then you had to like get like a Constitution saving throw or something, or else you slowly start turning into a mummy as well.
Oh my god,
that would be so
idea.
Sick.
Okay. Because I was gonna say, I think a lot of people are sort of inclined to stick to the traditional versions of the monsters that they find in the DMG and that sort of thing. And that's cool. Like, there's a lot of stuff you can use in there.
No, it's not.
All right, Grace. First of all.
Okay, it is cool. Yes, but continue.
That is something that you can absolutely do, and if you're a new DM, like 100%, these things exist for you to fall back on them. But if you're getting bored with, like, throwing the same stuff at your players, or, like, if you're playing with an experienced team who wants new stuff, just make variations of mummies. Again, like look at the stats for a giant spider and give it some extra resistances, give it the web thing, like go for that. There are all kinds of routes you can go with. Like a mummified method.
Yeah. Mummy method.
Mumfit.
Yeah. Moving on. So, other than mummies, we also found sphinxes, obviously. Again, we are in our common section of monsters, so sphinxes are often used in the tombs. I've noticed one thing about, like, the monsters that they had in the monster manual for desert monsters, and that's that most of them, besides mummies, are, like, above a 6 challenge rating.
Yeah.
So...
They're pretty high level monsters for the most part, and so I think that's almost a barrier for people running sort of desert campaigns and that sort of thing, is they think they need to, you know, have like wait until their players are higher level, when you can just sort of knock down the challenge rating of things by like removing layer and legendary actions or that sort of thing. Like cut the HP of a sphinx in half if you want to have like a cool little thing.
Or you can emphasize the element of stealth and have them be like, okay, you guys are definitely going to die if you go in here without like stealthing, so you have to be extra careful or else you will die. And if your players still don't understand, then maybe you should have a talk with your players.
I mean, I think a lot of DMs are hesitant to kill their players' characters. I know. But that's another thing too, is it's okay to encourage your players to run away from a fight. Please throw strong things at them.
We say this every week because we mean it.
We really mean it. It's a fantastic element to have, and then they have something where it's like, oh, when we're stronger, we can come back here and deal with this. Or, you know, we're just gonna avoid this forever and never deal with that again because it's scary.
And then if they do avoid it, you can always have, like, consequences for them leaving it alone.
Oh yeah, the world moves on when your characters are in a different location.
You gotta think of all these things at once. Gotta keep up, champ.
Being a DM is hard.
But that's why we're here to help.
But anyway, so with sphinxes, they're one of my favorite D&D creatures, just because their stats as is are really cool and they have a lot of things that they can do. But I'm a huge fan of mythology in general, and sphinxes that appear in mythology are really cool as well. There's like some different kinds. typically there's the Greek kind and then the Egyptian kind. And the Egyptian ones are sort of like celestial guardians and that sort of thing. I mean, you see the classic statue of it in Egypt that everyone likes to take pictures of. You know, it's missing the nose and everything. But then in Greek mythology, they tend to be more evil. So the classic version of it is in the tale of Oedipus, the guy who killed his dad and married his mom. Classic. Don't you just hate when that happens? Anyways, in that story, Oedipus is traveling along a road, and he comes across a sphinx, and the sphinx tells him a riddle. Typically, the riddle that's used is, what walks on 4 legs in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, and 3 in the evening? Then Oedipus answers it correctly, and it's a man. And then the sphinx commits suicide. Oh. Because he got the riddle right. Yeah, so you can do cool things like that. All sorts of stuff. If you want, it doesn't need to be, you know, half person, half lion. You can make it like part person, part caribou. I don't know. Do what you want. It can be whatever.
Yeah. I think something else is that these guys are lawful neutral. So I think you could also put them in like a god slaying campaign. Like if your characters are supposed to be taking down the gods or something.
If your characters are bad people.
They don't have to be. What if the gods are bad?
Yeah, you know, fair.
Yeah. So if your characters are killing gods, you could have some sphinx in there as well. They don't necessarily need to be desert. I feel like sphinxes are one of those things that are pretty
they're not contained to one area necessarily. Yeah. You can put them wherever you want.
Yeah. But, you know, in the desert scape, they look the coolest.
Yeah. So anyways, sphinxes are awesome. You can make them weaker if you want to use them earlier on in your campaign. You can make them the kind of thing that your players, you know, aren't supposed to fight, but instead negotiate with. You can do all kinds of stuff with them, and you should, because they're really cool. And there's plenty of lore that exists both in D&D and in general mythology that you can look up and play off of for all kinds of different ideas.
Are sphinxes technically a construct?
No.
Because if they're standing there looking like statues, right?
No, they're a monstrosity.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
But one of their things is that they're like inscrutable, at least according to their stats. And so I think it makes sense for them to, especially if they have this kind of celestial vibe going on, that they can do things like appear statuesque. I even like the idea of some, like, one that is a statue, but then when you come near it, it comes to life. And so then technically it could be a construct if you want to build it like that.
If you do build it like that, you should put traps, like, in the sphinx so that when they're fighting it, if they trigger a trap, something will happen, like, in the terrain, which I think is really cool.
Yeah. I mean, they come with layer actions already, but you can definitely add more stuff like that in.
Layer actions?
Layer actions!
Oh, boy.
There's actually really cool. So there are 3 kinds of sphinxes that are in like the monster manual, and those are the androsphinx, which is the strongest, the gynosphinx, which is a little bit weaker, and then the lamia, something like that. That's basically a tiny evil version. But the
Can you just imagine a small little sphinx that just knocks your cups off of the freaking table?
That would be so good. Oh my god, now I want that. We have sphinx cats here in real life, but in game, that's what a sphinx cat is.
And that would be really cute. But it could also kill you.
It could also kill you.
Good.
Probably has magic.
Wow.
What?
Magic?
Yeah, sphinxes tend to be spellcasters, which is another really cool thing. They get legendary actions. And most importantly, the androsphinx has roars that it does that have special abilities. And one of those things that it does is make your characters frightened. And let me tell you, being frightened is such a detriment to your character's ability to do anything. And I think, you know, if you want to make a fight harder, make your characters have to make a save against fear. It puts that little bit of a challenge in there.
You'll be scared, it's just a cat.
Meow. Meow.
Okay.
So, I think that's pretty much the main common monsters that we wanted to talk about this week. Shall we move on to our selling program?
Selling program!
Feel free to call on the phones if you want to bid on any of these monsters. Kidding. It was a joke. It was a dumb joke. Would you like to go first?
Sure, I don't have my timer on me.
I have my phone.
Actually, I went first last week. Why don't you go first?
Should I go Okay, hang on.
Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. On go.
Okay.
And 1, 2, 3, go.
So the Quaddle is a really cool creature. It is based vaguely on the Mesoamerican thing called a Quetzalcoatl. I think I'm pronouncing that right. But anyways, it's a cool flying snake.
Cool.
That's it.
Would you like to
yeah.
go a little more depth in that?
So they're a super strong creature, but that doesn't mean that they're not cool and interesting. They have some fun abilities that are less combat oriented. They are, the way they're written, I think they're more meant to be like lower level servants of some kind of deity and that sort of thing, or just tiny guardians and that sort of thing. You know, it's cute. But they are sort of based on the Mesoamerican myth of Quetzalcoatl, which is literally means feathered serpent. And I think that there could be created a stronger version of this that is like some great, feathered serpent deity.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a concept I'm really excited about and might be including in a campaign maybe.
Is it maybe included in a campaign that I'm playing in?
Oh, well, it might be.
Okay, great.
But they're really cool. They have some awesome resistances. They have some polymorph abilities that I think are really interesting. And,
they're caretakers as well, aren't they?
Yes. So again, sort of in the guardian realm of things, they can be assigned to certain areas. In my mind, I'm thinking like the guardian of some oasis or something like that, if you're putting them in a desert area, and just the surroundings of them, given their sort of celestial vibe and the blessings of their god and that sort of thing, are flowering and doing really well in spite of being in this like mostly dead area.
Wholesome.
Yeah, I think they're good boys. And I think a lot of people are like afraid of snakes, and in our minds snakes can be sort of associated with some negative things, but in a lot of cultures snakes were often associated with like rebirth and the cycle of life and healing and fertility and that sort of thing. I know a lot about Greek mythology. So for example, the snake was a symbol of Hera, who was the goddess of like childbirth and marriage and that sort of thing. And the reason it was so associated with her is because like they shed their skin and are reborn and all that sort of thing. It's some cool stuff.
That is cool.
And snakes are great, so don't be scared of them.
True. And just like that, my fear is gone.
Wow. I don't think you were ever afraid of snakes.
No.
You definitely owned some.
A lot.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Would you like to chat about yours?
Yeah!
Noise. In 3, 2, 1, go.
Fire newts are these fiery newts who have complex government systems inside their little tribes, and there's a lot of variation with them as well.
Nice. Great. I feel like we're getting too good at this, and maybe we should shorten the amount of time that we get for it.
Soon we'll be at like 1 second, and I don't know about that one.
I'm super here for just the word association. Or like,
in 3 words, describe and sell to me your monster.
Yes, I want this.
Okay, well,
anyways,
you the viewers can let us know what you think about that idea. However, fire newts.
Tell me more about them. I like this idea of the intricate society.
Yeah, so when they describe them in the book, I know we're referencing the book a lot.
Oh, well.
Yeah. Okay, anyway, so in the book, they're kind of described to be like, they have like these like they're like a militant society basically. And like the stronger ones are obviously the ones with more power. There's also like warlocks, and there's like barbarian newts and stuff like that can go into a rage. Honestly, side note, if you guys wanted, you could totally play fire newts as a race.
Yeah, why not? That sounds awesome.
But yeah, so these guys have like a culture that's based off of worshipping the god Imix, which is like the prince of evil fire, I believe. Ooh. Yeah, so they like these guys like basically to prove how like freaking badass they are to their god, they go on these raids like bandits and take home treasure. They don't leave any like victims behind. They kill everyone and they take everything. And the more successful they are at doing that, the more they're like basically proven to their god how good their little tribe is. And the reason these guys I say are like desert dwelling, because you know, you think fire newts and you're like, they could be anywhere. They could be in like a volcano and stuff like that. Well, these guys, well, they can be that. They're usually found around sources with like water and heat. So they have to have a source of water, or else they'll like
a hot spring and that sort of thing.
Yeah, or like a lava chamber of some sort. Mm-hmm. So what I was thinking when I was like looking at these fire newts for a desert campaign is if you had something like that used to be like an ocean, and there's still like underwater chambers that are filled with like hot springs, you can have like an underwater fire newt
like if this area used to be underwater or something.
Yeah. Or like they can be like taking over the only oasis in an area and your party has to go stop them. You know what I mean?
That's so cool.
But you can also have them like, well, typically these guys are evil. So it's probably hard for you to have like a campaign where your characters are befriending this tribe, but you probably could have them like kind of integrated into like fire newt society somehow. I'm sure the Dungeoneers can figure it out.
Yeah. I mean, like, they're so cute. I don't see why they're not like lawful good.
Yeah, you know, it's because Imix is the prince of evil fire.
Yeah, and
it's, you know, evil fire. But these guys also have, the reason I say they have like a complex kind of government is because they have obviously the people who are ruling, and it's not like these guys just have like a bunch of warriors because it's a militant, quote unquote, militant society, but a lot of their fire newt like people can also be like alchemists and blacksmiths, and like they have like a bunch of trades, so you can have like a whole like society that's based off of like, you know, a militant society or a communist society.
Communism in my D&D campaign?
Yes.
Yeah, it's there.
But yeah.
Alrighty. Well, they sound really cool, and I'm excited to see if they come up in anything you're running.
Oh, and they eat their prisoners.
Awesome. That's ideal. Shall I talk about my second one now?
Yeah, do the thing.
Do the thing?
Ready?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, go.
So you might think that flying snakes are too similar to quaddles or quetzalcoatls, but you're wrong. They're tiny, adorable little winged serpent things that are there's just woof. That's it.
I'm pretty sure that was the same exact description that you gave for
It's not.
quaddles.
It's not. So the difference between quaddles and flying snakes. Quaddles are like this celestial being that's sort of a guardian and that kind of thing.
And flying snakes.
And flying snakes are tiny little snakes with wings.
So the only difference is one of them is a celestial.
Yeah, so flying snakes are technically beasts. They're unaligned, and they're just an animal that appears in the D&D world, according to D&D Beyond, etc. You're giving me a weird face, and I'm not sure what you're not following.
Because I'm confused why you would pick two of the same thing.
They're not the same.
I'm not convinced.
Flying snakes, they're kind of like any animal that could be a familiar.
Ah,
yeah,
I see.
They have like no HP. They're kind of useless for the most part. Pretty dumb.
So you went from quaddles to flying. You couldn't have started with flying snakes and then built it up to quaddles.
It was better this way. But no, I think what's really interesting about flying snakes, unassociated with quaddles, though you totally could have them be like a servant to a quaddle.
Oh, true.
That would be really rad, and
that would be cool.
Totally on theme.
Mm-hmm.
They are frequently used as messengers instead of like messenger pigeons or that sort of thing. People will give like a scroll to a flying snake and it'll like wrap it up in its little body and then flap its little wings to deliver the message.
That's really cute.
I think that's really adorable.
What if you had like a warlock who had a flying snake familiar?
I would absolutely let a warlock player have a flying snake familiar.
But hear me out. Mm-hmm. This warlock is a very submissive warlock, and this flying snake thinks that it's a quaddle, and it's like, I have to go on this epic quest and you have to accompany me, and the warlock's like, okay.
Oh my god, that would be so cute.
Would that not be the best like little storyline for a character ever? I
would really love if someone, I mean, even if it's not a familiar, right? You can take a quaddle and sort of have it be awakened in a sense, so it's more intelligent. Yeah. And then the flying snake believes it's a quaddle.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be adorable.
That would be really cute.
That's gonna happen now.
Okay. So we just feed each other these terrible but great ideas.
They're wonderful.
Okay.
But anyways, flying snakes, underappreciated, really cool.
I'm effectively sold.
Good.
Kind of.
Okay, well...
I'm 100% kind of sold.
So you're 50% sold?
100% kind of sold. Yes.
Okay.
Anyway.
Your turn?
My turn.
Okay. And 3, 2, 1, go.
Death dogs are just like blink dogs, but they're scarier, and they can't teleport because they have 2 heads, red eyes, they like to eat things, and they can rot your skin with just 1 bite. I just needed 10 seconds.
Yeah. So, normally I'm convinced that all dogs are good boys, but these don't sound like good boys.
No, they're neutral evil doggos.
Great.
So, it doesn't give much of a definition of these guys, other than the fact that they're ugly and they roam plains and deserts. So it sounds like what they could be are like scavengers of a sort.
Like a terrifying coyote.
Yeah, so they're like scavengers in like the desert, and they're trying to find food, and if you just happen to be walking in the desert with your party, you end up getting killed, kind of like in our intro. And when they bite you, it's kind of like a brown recluse, like when it bites you. You have to make like a constitution saving throw, or else your skin slowly starts to rot from the inside out.
I hate that comparison just because I hate spiders, but we're gonna have to do a spider episode at some point.
And I will love that episode.
I'm gonna hate that
so
much.
Love spiders. But anyway, so these guys are also like the bravest dogs on the block, because these dogs can't be blinded, charmed, deaf and frightened, stunned, or knocked unconscious. So really, you just gotta kill them
and hope for the best.
Because you can't really run from them.
Yeah. Well, because I think, aren't they're sort of like crazed, like hatred burning in their hearts, I think was a phrase that is said about them.
Yes. So like, I mean, I guess in a way you can kind of use them as like hellhounds. And their hate could literally burn their heart, which causes like some kind of like, I don't know if you want to be scientific about it, but like then it causes their blood or saliva to like have like a corrosive element to it. But I think it'd be really cool to like play to the horror element of these dogs.
Yeah.
You know, have your players get chased down by a pack of them, and then one of them like bites one of your players, and then your player's hand slowly starts to melt off, or like something like that. You know what I mean? Or like
mummified death dog.
Oh, that would be really cool.
Mummified flying snake.
Mummified everything.
Just turn everything into a mummy. It's fine.
But like the reason why I think these guys are so scary is because I lost my thought.
No. You're just so scared that it made you forget.
I forgot.
And you know, if a death dog isn't already scary enough, just give it some hellhound abilities. Why not? You want it to breathe fire? Okay. Sure, it's already got that thing going on.
Do it.
Just give it fire breath. Whatever you want, man.
Yeah, I would like to mention that their bites, the disease that they inflict on you, also doesn't go away until cured. So
nice. It's not like you're fine. It's like
it's not like you muscled through it. No,
you're slowly dying.
Yeah,
Cool.
pretty cool.
That's fun.
You can have like an alien element to it too, where they burst out of like a slot. See, we're making references to our other episodes. This is a good episode right here.
This is how you know it's quality.
Quaddly?
Quality. Yeah, so is there anything else you want to say about Death Dogs before we move on to our highlight this week?
I'd keep one.
Me too.
Okay, cool. That's all.
Alright, so our highlight of the week is, are you ready?
The camel! God, that was yikes.
I thought you were just gonna say camel, so I started saying camel, but then you said the, and I was like, camel.
Yeah, so the camel, a classic, a wholesome classic.
What's something you find in the desert? Better be a camel.
Exactly. You can just have one there.
Yeah.
You can cut one's stomach open to hide from the cold in the desert.
It gets really cold in deserts at night. Some people don't realize that.
That was a Star Wars reference.
Was it?
And whatever that movie Leonardo DiCaprio was in, where he cut open the horse's stomach.
Like the
Revenant or something.
Revenant.
Yeah, whatever.
Revenant.
Yeah, that one. But anyway,
Cool.
yeah. So these guys are really cool because A, they spit, and B, they spit.
Well, so the unfortunate thing, their stats, as written, don't have a thing where they spit, but it is something that camels do, and I think they should have a spitting ability. Also a kicking ability. Camels are way more likely to kick you than bite you. It's a thing that I am aware of.
Didn't you ride a camel?
I did. It was great.
Great. How are the humps?
I think the one I rode only had one hump. They're dromedaries and then there are camels. I don't remember which one is which, but one of them only has one and the other has two. And
Okay,
a whole
well,
thing.
camels have two, right? For the most part.
I'm not sure.
Okay, well, they have humps.
Yes.
This we're sure of, and
At least one.
They contain water, right?
Yes.
Something like that.
It's like a little pouch.
A camelback.
Yes. Yes, it is. That's where that name comes from, if anyone didn't know that already.
Wow. Anyway. Yeah, so I was thinking that if you wanted to up the ante on these camels and make them a lot more badass, your camel could have, like, elemental aspects to it, and it contains, like, stuff on its back.
A magic camel?
A magic camel. And, like, if you wanted, like, a fire camel, it could contain, like, oil in its humps that it'll, like, spit out and then ignite.
So a dragon.
But a camel. or like an acid one, and like there's like acid in its humps, and then if you cut off the humps, it'll like melt from all the acid because all the acid will like splurt everywhere.
Oh, that's gross. I don't like that.
It's cool.
But I do like that, but I don't like that.
But anyway.
Yeah.
Camels.
Also, mummy camel.
Mummy camel.
Mummel.
Mummy camel that spits acid.
And that's the show, guys.
Bye. No, but not bye. That is kind of the end, kind of. But I did just want to.
That's it.
Yeah, I did just want to thank you guys, for listening this far, because.
Thank you for putting up with our stupidity.
Whew, just. Whew.
It's a wild ride.
Okay, have a good week. See you next Tuesday.
And subscribe.
Bye!